Okay, let's talk about factoring polynomials. Now, this is one method of factoring polynomials. If you would prefer to use the box method or the AC method or the cross method, that's all up to you. But this is a method I have found that makes the most sense for students. Okay? It's called the bottoms up method. So step one is that you need to write the polynomial in standard form. And by standard form, we mean that it's in descending order. So ax squared plus bx plus c. No parentheses, nothing with an exponent, highest to lowest. Okay. Step two, we're going to factor out the GCF if one exists, and the GCF stands for greatest common factor. Okay, in this video or in this section, we are not going to have a GCF. We will cover that later on. We're going to find two numbers whose product, and remember, product just means multiplication, is A times C, where we're looking at A as our leading coefficient and C as our constant term, the plain number, and whose sum, remember sum means that you needed to add, it adds to B, our middle term. You wind up writing the factors in the form x plus number 1, x plus number 2, where the two numbers are from step 3. We are going to divide the constant terms and remember, constant term is just the number by itself, no variable. We're going to divide that by A, our leading coefficient. Since we have some division going on, you know that we are going to need to simplify the fractions. And finally, if a fraction remains in the factor, bottoms up. Okay. All right, so the bottoms up method will work to factor quadratics. So you have to have highest power is 2, and you have to take out the GCF first. But remember, we're not going to be doing the GCF in this section. We will in later sections. So right now we're just working on getting our polynomial factoring down without throwing in any curveballs. Okay. I am also going to be referencing a calculator. And the calculator we're going to be using in the video is desmos.com. Oops. There we go. /graphing. Sorry about that. All right. So let's look at our first example. We have x squared minus 10x plus 24. Notice that we are already in descending order. We have the x squared starting first, and then we count down. We have x to the first, and then 24 is our constant term. Our leading coefficient, a, what is in front of the x squared, is 1. Our b in this case is -10. That's what's in front of the x. And our c, our constant term, is 24. So we are looking for a product So multiplication of A times C. So 1 times 24, because again, product of A times C. 1 times 24 gets us 24. And then we are looking for a sum of B, which in this case is -10. So from here, if you already figured out the numbers, awesome. If you haven't, just stick with me. Okay. We can always start with the numbers that they give us in the product, or you could just start with 1 in the number, which in this case winds up being the same thing as the numbers they gave us. 1 times 24 gets us to 24, but 1 plus 24 gets us 25. That's not the sum that we wanted. So back to the drawing board. Next number up from 1 is 2. 24 divided by 2 gets us 12, which means that 2 times 12 gets us 24. 2 plus 12 gets us 14, because remember, sum means add. Even if we did -2 and -12, that would get us to -14. The next number up from 2 is 3. When in doubt, take 24 divided by 3. That gets us 8. If we would have gotten a decimal, that means that 24 would not be divisible by 3, but in this case it does. So we know that 3 times 8 gets us 24, but 3 plus 8 gets us 11. Next number up from 3 is 4. If we take 24 divided by 4, we get 6, which means that 4 times 6 gets us 24. 4 plus 6 is equal to 10. Right number, wrong sign, because we need a -10. So what we're going to do is go back and change the signs. That means that we're going to need a -4, since 4 was positive, and a -6, because 6 was positive. And -4 plus -6 gets us -10, which means that these are our magic numbers. This is from step 3. We found the two numbers that multiply to be positive 24. So -4 times -6 gets us positive 24. And we take -4 plus -6, we get the -10, the sum that we wanted. Since we found the two numbers that give us the product and sum that we were looking for, next step is to write our factors. Our variable was x, so we're going to start with parentheses x. Since it's -4, we're going to do -4. Give me a second, that looks like an 8 instead of a parenthesis. There we go. Okay, so x -4, because the 4 is negative, and x -6, because the 6 is negative. If it were positive, we would put plus. Our next step, we have to divide both of our constants by a. That's a fancy way of saying divide both of our numbers and our factors by 1. And the parentheses are our factors. And then step 6 said that we need to simplify. Remember that when you take any whole number divided by 1, you get the whole number. So when we're looking at 4/1, that simplifies down. So we're going to have x -4, and then x -6 divided by 1 gets us 6. We don't have any fractions left in our factors, which means that we are done. Our answer is x minus 4 times x minus 6. These do get a little bit harder, but the process is going to remain the same.